great pleasure. Hi, Tom.
Hi, Dave.
Here we are. Indeed. Thank you.
One or two from Brixton in tonight.
Just a couple, yeah.
Just one or two,
a couple of back on. Some actually, I think I recognise a lot of people from Hatfield there.
I'm
so thanks for reminding me and coming out about the garden hose, the breathing through.
Yes.
I thought I was the only one. How did you do it? I did it like that.
That's a tough way. I'm disappointed. I was told he might appear wearing the Little Richard jacket. Eh?
Yes.
Your great hero, which now you've acquired.
I've now acquired that through my wife. It was one of our wedding anniversaries a few months ago. And my idol when I was a kid was Little Richard. And she knew that, so she found one of his old original stage jackets, 1956, and she got it for me for an anniversary present. And the thing, Little Richard, the guy is huge. This guy, I can use it as a tent in the garden. I basically wear it on stage. I mean, he must have had like really little legs.
And big body.
You know, and a big body, because
Yeah.
the sleeves are down there on me. I saw him first in 1963, I think it was. And I think it might have been at the Brixton Odeon. I don't know, somebody remember the tour. Everybody remembers everything these days. And the Rolling Stones were opening up for him. It was the first time I ever saw him. And they weren't really very well known. There's about 6 kids rushed to the front, you know. That was their fan base at the time. Everybody was there for Little Richard. And I think Bo Diddley was on the show and all that. And it was priceless. I'd never seen anything so rebellious in my life. Some guy yells out, "Get your hair cut." And Mick says, and I'll never forget these words, "What, and look like you?" I thought, oh my God, this is the future of music. And sure enough.
but was it music that engaged you, or was it the sort of showmanship of it all?
It was really the music and the showmanship of it all. It was the combination, I think. I mean, I remember my mother was really, she didn't realise what she was starting, but she would always say at breakfast, "Oh, I could have been a singer, you know," and then she'd sing, and there was this thing on radio, Two-Way Family Favourites, I remember, on a Sunday, when I was about 6, and every Sunday without fail, this thing by Ernest Luft was sung, and it was "Oh, for the Wings of a Dove."
That's the boy soprano.
He was a boy soprano.
Oh,
yeah, he's dead now, isn't he?
Yeah, he's dead.
Yeah, and he was, what, 90 when he died?
His voice went before he died.
Oh, is that what it is? And my mother would say, "Oh, for the wings of a dove, far away, and all this." And she was really good, and I thought, that's, you know, maybe she would be a singer. You know, she'd be a great singer.
Yes.
So that was like one of my first influences, I think, was Ernest Luft.
But I mean, there you were in Brixton, and then in Bromley.
And then in Bromley, yeah.
Then in Bromley. I mean, it was just that one moment, was it seeing Little Richard that decided this is the
It was
life
seeing
for me,
Ernest
lads.
Luft, actually.
Seeing
I went
Ernest
along to
Luft
the church and I saw him singing along there, and I thought, oh, that's what... But there were weird notes in that, and there were other things on the radio that really committed me to the idea of music, because it was the pieces of music that didn't... They kind of broke my expectations. I remember also in those days there was whole Planet Suite got played a lot, especially Mars. As the do. And those notes were so weird. It didn't follow anything that I knew, you know. And songs like that and pieces of music where the notes didn't go the right way really got me, like Tubby the Tuba. Remember Tubby the Tuba?
Yeah, Sparky and the Magic Piano.
No, that had a regular, that was a kind of a...
Sorry, I mentioned that. Right.
No, not Sparky the Piano.
Tubby the Tuba.
Well, that one... There was this weird bit. Don't forget that. It was that note.
Yeah.
It was like awkward, you know.
I'm beginning to where you got to, into some rock and roll.
Yeah, well, but I like Little Richard along with this stuff.
But you mentioned, though, when you saw Little Richard, you mentioned an interesting word, rebellion.
Yeah.
You mentioned. I mean, what was the purpose of your rebellion? What was it?
Oh, I don't think I really ever had a rebellion.
Oh, you could.
No. Only against my mother and father, really. It was really no wider than that. You know, it wasn't against the world generally. I wanted to get a lot of the world. I wanted as much as I could get, so...
Well, what was wrong with your mum and dad?
They fuck you up, your mum and dad.
That's what Larky said. But do you believe that to be true?
With my mother, yeah. My dad was very... They fuck you up, your mum and dad. Yeah. They may not mean to, but they do. And they fill you full of faults they had. And they add some extra just for you. The last verse is great, though. What was the last verse? Do you remember?
I don't.
It's man hands misery onto man. It deepens like a coastal shelf. So get out as soon as you can and don't have any kids yourself. Now that's an English poem, isn't it?
So you didn't like your mum and dad or what they'd done to you?
Wings of a dove. There's a funny note in that one, you see.
Yeah.
Weird, isn't it?
So what I'm trying to get at now, I'm even more confused than when I first started, but...
Oh, you don't know? I confuse myself
Mr. Hanks is
sometimes.
totally confused.
No, he's not.
No, I'm
don't
still
let the suit fool you.
Yeah, I'm still going through Tubby the Tuba in my head.
Where did Ziggy Stardust come from?
Oh Lord, I don't know.
Was that the rebellion? Was it that was creating this kind of alter ego?
Well, you know, the thing is, I never thought that I could sing very well, and I used to kind of try on people's voices if they appealed to me. When I was a kid, about 15, 16, I got into Anthony Newley like crazy because a couple of things about him. One, before he came to the States and did the whole Las Vegas thing, he really did bizarre things over here. He had a television series he did called The Strange World of Gurney Slave.
I remember it.
Which was so odd and off the wall. And I thought, I like what this guy's doing, where he's going. It's really interesting. And so I started singing songs like him, but I was reading a lot of stuff like by the Angry Young Men generation, you know, and Keith, who is it? Was it Waterhouse?
Keith Waterhouse.
Yeah, Keith Waterhouse and John Osborne and stuff like that. And so I was writing these really weird Tony Newley type songs, but the lyrics are about like lesbians in the army and cannibals and paedophiles and things like that. It was this kind of, you know, I thought, yeah, this is my bag. This is what my career is going to be like. And the first album, it really is the most extraordinary piece of work in that way.
Yeah.
I mean, utterly forgettable, but it's...
But
there's no faulting its ambitions.
But what about that sort of androgynous appeal that you developed? I mean, where did that come from? That sort of feminine side of you?
Oh, that's just me being camp, really.
But when did you first start being camp?
When I put those clothes on, funnily enough. Amazing what it does to you when you drag up for the first time, isn't it, Tom?
It gave me a lucrative career for a while, anyway.
No, I'll tell you what was even funnier, though, was getting my band to put the clothes on. Because my band were all from Yorkshire. I've got to tell you, my father was from Yorkshire.
From Tadcaster, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, somewhere between Tadcaster, Doncaster and York. So he's from there, and my mother's family were from Lancashire. So when I hear somebody, I'm nearly there, you know, I want to be, I've supped some stuff, didn't I can't help it. It's, so I'm trying desperately not to get into a Yorkshire accent. It's really hard.
do it very well. It's
you sound like
excellent.
my dad, you see. It's really off-putting. I won't look at you.
All right.
I will, actually, because he was a good man. So these guys all came from Hull, you know, we're going to play a rock and roll band, they like the songs and all that. And I said, yeah, it's great. So, do you want to see what we're going to wear? Oh, yeah, right. Okay. No way. Bloody right, I'm not putting that on. I said, no, believe me, you'll look great. It'll really suit you. Yeah, right. And so I don't know how I did it, but I managed to talk them into doing it. A couple of nights later, we'd done a couple of shows, and all these girls were all over them. And suddenly the dressing room procedure was really different. It's right. Who's got the blush? Hey, Trevor, have you finished with that mascara? It was a phenomenal thing. Amazing. A little bit of eyeliner.
So when you look back on that now, do you remember? Obviously,
I look at them as rarely as possible.
Do you remember it fondly?
I do. Yes, absolutely. We had some wild times. It was a fantastic period. We had no idea what we were doing. We really didn't know which way the whole thing was going. I just knew that I was getting bored very quickly. That's the the great tragedy of it, I suppose, in my eye, well, no, not really, because it was great to let go of it, but I tend to grasshopper about. My attention span is very short, as you can probably gather. There was a period after, we were only together for 18 months. The whole thing was over in 18 months, the whole Ziggy Stardust thing. And a good halfway through, 9, 10 months into it, I knew it was over already, and I just wanted to move somewhere else. There's a new kind of music. I wanted to write something, a different kind of theatricality I wanted to bring into it, and all that, and it was... the last few months, I was really like treading water. I couldn't wait to finish.
And you know, the amazing thing is that you nearly threw all that away, all that creativity, through drugs, and you got through it in the end.
Well, I guess all that period was pretty fine, you know. It was the later years, the later part of the 70s. But my story in terms of drugs and the alcohol and all that is no different to anybody else's, and it's almost a textbook story. So.
Except you survived it.
Yeah, well, a lot of us did, you know. I'm not the only one by any means.
Just tell me, because it's fascinating research. Right. So about you saw a guy on CNN, a doctor, was talking about the effect that cocaine had on the human brain. I don't know if it changed your mind about drugs, but certainly had an effect of making you not want to take drugs.
Oh, that actually, yes, no, that didn't put me off at all, actually, when I saw that. I saw that it was in the 70s, and I saw that and I said, whoa, too cool. I mean, it was like, there was showing a brain of cocaine users and all the holes that were in it. They're great, huge holes. I thought, yeah, that's me. It didn't occur to me that this was a bad thing. I mean, that didn't come for quite a while later. Really.
And what started the change? What was it?
You can't have relationships with anybody. You don't know anybody else exists. It's just, you become a really dreadful person, you know? And I just think I got fed up with being a dreadful person. That's really as simple as that. And I guess I was lucky that I was able to knock it on the head, you know?
And what about being a new father now? Because you've got a 2-year-old child now, haven't you?
Yeah, I have indeed. A wonderful little girl, Alexandria. And also a wonderful boy, 31 years old.
Yes,
so I've got two. And I've got also a stepdaughter, of course, Zuleika, who's 21.
One imagines, of course, then that the 31-year-old, when that period of time when you had the boy,
yeah.
That in fact you were kind of an absent father in many ways.
I was. I mean, you know, I was on tour all the time. I was very ambitious. I was young. I was keen to go and do these stage things. And I was just whizzing around the world half the time, you know.
And now, of course, you've got time to sort of relive that, in fact, recapture
Absolutely.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was very lucky in a way. I mean, the marriage, of course, went hopelessly wrong very early. But Joe was with me since he was 5, 6 years old, so it was kind of a one-parent family since he was that age.
Are you a sort of new-age father now? Are you a nappy changer? Come on.
No, I'm ridiculously Victorian. I'm absolutely hopeless at that kind of thing. I've got a huge admiration for guys who can get in there like that. I just can't. I mean, well, I didn't. My wife didn't let me, which was great. She was, oh, get out of here, you know, and she was like pinning and wrapping things up, and, you know, I knew there was some kind of, something in there was being prepared, and at the end of it all, my little daughter came out. It was great. But I'm good at saying, this is a book, and we're going to look at this, and, you know, come to this museum, and I'm kind of fairly good like that, I think.
Yes. What about, how much now is left of the lad from Brixton, do you think?
Not very much, I think. I mean, you know...
What moves on?
I mean, I never became who I should have been until maybe 12, 15 years ago. I spent an awful lot of my life, as I think most people in so-called entertainment industry, actually looking for myself, you know, and understanding what it was that what I existed for, what was it that really made me happy in life, and who exactly I was, and who are the parts of myself I was trying to hide from a lot. You know, it's like exposing yourself. And I think a lot of us are, one, dysfunctional in show business, pretty dysfunctional, and two, in huge senses of denial about who we are and where we exist in the world. There's some kind of traumatism often goes on in our childhoods, I think, that makes us crave some kind of strange affection, you know. It's sort of, and often you'll find that the person who craves a lot of affection actually isn't terribly good at giving it. And I found that all my life, especially in the 70s. I was like that. I really wanted to sort of, you know, be very emotionally involved with people. I didn't know how to do it. You know, my parents were like that. Yeah. And I guess you kind of, as they say, Larkin's right in that way. You know, they pass on a lot of faults.
Yeah. Do you buy that, Tom?
Yeah, I think it's very true. We're in a narcissistic business. We're constantly figuring, how do I do that? What do I have to do next? Let's talk about me. Enough about me. What do you think of these shoes? Are these good shoes that I should wear?
That's right.
It's like that.
What about, and the other thing too, is the kind of problems that your children have in dealing with this kind of narcissistic approach, if you like, because the animal is that, whichever way you look at it, they can observe this kind of, the effect that fame has on you, and the way that people react differently to you than they do to other people. That's something you can't really tell them about, isn't it? I mean, they have to sort of make their own mind up about that. Is it as casual as that, or are there things you can do?
I think, well, in my situation, I think my son watched me grow up, you know, which is kind of, it was very strange for him in some ways, and sometimes I feel there's almost a protective quality about him when he's with me, you know, which is kind of...
He's looking after you?
Yeah, well, he's not, but he is, you know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
Like,
I do know.
It's, but I also feel the same way. I really want to protect him too.
Let's hear a classic song of yours, Life on Mars. But first of all, before we hear that, tell me how you came to write this song.
Well, when I was just a little sprog...
Will you do it in a Yorkshire accent, all of it?
No. I can't do the accent. I was with a music publishing company, and they were passing me songs, lots of them from the, I was going to say from the Orient. Some of them sounded like they came from the Orient. A lot of songs from Europe that they wanted me to do kind of English translations, not translations, but a new set of English lyrics for, you know. One of them was this French song that I thought was really very good, and I wrote some really terrible lyric. I think it was called Even a Fool Learns to Love. And I sent it back again. I thought, oh, that's the last area of that. Then I hear it on the radio. And I thought, that's that tune, that must be my... I thought, no, these are different lyrics. And it was Sinatra singing My Way. And I was... I wrote the lyrics. What happened? I phoned them up and said, oh, yeah, your lyrics were rubbish. And I said, I know that, but they're the ones I did. And they said, yeah, well, we got Paul Anka to do them instead, and this is My Way. And that really made me angry for so long, about a year. And eventually I wrote I thought, well, I can write something as big as that, and I'll write one that sounds a bit like it. And so I did Life on Mars, which is my sort of, you know, revenge trip on My Way.
Well, thank God you did. It's a lovely song. Shall we hear it?
Oh, yeah, okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Your pianist, your accompanist awaits you. David Bowie, Life on Mars. David.
Thank you, Robert.
Did you enjoy that, Mr. Hanks?
Oh, you know...
That's going to be the ultimate in performing, actually.
Have you ever stayed at the Sunset Marquis Hotel in Los Angeles?
No.
Yes. Legendary place.
Well.
Legendary place.
Yeah,
And
I've been to
literally
a few parties.
I've gotten lost there a few times.
Yeah.
But the patio is split right in half. There's actors on one side and there's musicians on the other. And the musicians are all looking at the actors. Oh, look at those actors. They've got it so easy. They just say the lines. It's people who write for them. They don't have to work. And the actors are all looking at the musicians. Look at those musicians. They've got it so easy. All they can play the guitar and stand up and sing.
And then you've got the comedians down the end.
Yeah, they're all goofing around.
From everybody.
Yeah, they're asking you what you'd like to have to drink with your sandwich.
That's absolutely true. I know every musician I know either wants to be an actor or a comedian, and comedians likewise want to be actors or musicians, and I think there's quite a few actors who would want to do.
But you're happy doing what you're doing now?
Oh, absolutely, completely.
You find yourself at a kind of a lagoon state of life now.
Really?
I think so.
Oh, that's really nice.
That's
I like
the
that. With the hose.
Breathing through the
What more
nose.
can I want?
So David, then, so after this, what? You're on tour at present? And
I'm going. I
single?
want to see. I'm missing my wife and baby like crazy, and you know, have a good long writing thing afterwards. And whoops, I didn't want to go there. And then Christmas comes, and we'll be, you know, sort of going through all that. And I think my daughter's ready to really take the tree in now. You know, 2.5. It'll make sense, won't it?
Well, thank you for talking to me tonight. I've really much enjoyed it, and I hope to.
It's been a great pleasure meeting you both. It's been lovely.
David Bowie. Tom Hanks. Next week, my guests are Michael Palin.